need to address this.
Speak to us about a perceived fear when it comes to this constitution amendment, especially for those states, let's hit on that again, especially for those states who probably feel that if we go the way of restructuring, we may be left out because we don't have really something that is enough. And economic activity, for instance, as you say, Lagos State has a lot of that.
Yeah.
We may not have that level of economic activities that can sustain our people. Speak to us more about that and what the National Assembly needs to be thinking, even while the debate for restructuring is still on the front burner.
But basically, we need to discuss fiscal federalism, which is resource management and resource control. If the agitation, for instance, for the people in the South, for resource control and resource, so what it means in essence is that the oil revenue that constitutes almost 70% of our income would get out. So question is, what happened to those states that don't have oil? Or Lagos State has VAT, and of course, from the statistics from the Ministry of Finance, it contributes a sizable. So what will then happen is for us to look at how we can negotiate to have taxing and resources that will be contributed by states that do not have these resources, and you'll be surprised that even those that think they don't have resources may have resources. For instance, in the north, if you want solar power, you have to go to those places. So in terms of resources, how did we do it in the old regional system that we had? We went back to the basics. We went back to agriculture. We had pyramids of cotton, of grains, cocoa, and all that. It's a joke that since that time, we still import chocolate, and we are cocoa farming. And look at where we are in terms of number in the world, global number for production. It's sad when you look at even grain, corn. We are importing corn as a nation. So there are so many avenues by which you can sit down and then say, okay, we want to solve our problems. We want to develop. We want to improve the quality of life of every Nigerian, not some Nigerians.
If that discussion starts, do you think it will stem the tide of this separatist feelings and agitations at the moment?
Well, the issue of separatism and secession, the Biafran question, is a different question a bit.
Okay, let's take that question up when we come back from this break in a moment. Join us again. Talk to us about that separatist feeling.
Yes, the separatist feeling is something that relates to our history. You remember the Civil War, and there is the feeling that the wounds of the Civil War were not popularly healed. There are those who feel, Mossab and, IPOB feel that the people in the Southeast have not been mainstreamed, particularly in terms of access to power. And the indices for them to measure it is that since that time, they have not produced a president of that extraction. That is one. And then in terms of development, they feel that they have gotten the short end of the stick. So, and they also have the belief that the old Biafra can be resuscitated. Now, that's where things begin to get, a bit confusing. Because since 1967, we've been restructuring Nigeria. So even the old Biafra has been restructured. So presently, at best, the Biafran, republic they are suggesting will just consist of 5 states, the core Igbo states. Because you've seen it, Rivers, Bayelsa, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, they've said they are not part of it. So I believe these are extreme, demands in the face of failure to discuss. There is the popular saying that those that leave peaceful means of change impossible makes it inevitable for forceful change. So I think all these ones should be dialogue. We don't want a situation where dialogue failed before restructuring started in the 67. You know, there was supposed to be dialogue before. It was when dialogue failed and civil war came and there was bloodshed. Well, there should be no bloodshed. We should be able to discuss our problems and solve it.
Let's wind down with this one. Could you tell us, how do we now solve this ASU strike problem now?
Well, ASU strike is a labor dispute. And the labor dispute is between the employer and the labor force. So ASU is negotiating with the federal government